Welcome, Ziggy No. Is here tonight with ERB Sports. This is John. I want to call you a good friend. I've known you probably about 2 years virtually. I think this is the first time we've spoken live. Am I wrong? Or have we spoken before?
We met at the 2022
That's
National
right.
in Atlantic City.
That's
It
right.
was at a trade night.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yep.
I was such in and out that day, to be honest with you. I don't remember who I met in person and who I just virtually spoke to and did not get to speak to. Like I remember a few people, but yes, I do remember that now. So thanks for jogging my terrible memory. Welcome again to the show.
Back then, my channel had like 35 subscribers. So I've come a long way, even though I feel like I still have a long way to go. But yeah,
we'll definitely talk about that. I think I remember. I think I met you before the national, right? I think virtually. I think I mentioned your show, and then we were going to try to hook up, and you were just starting your channel. You did some like videos from like different national parks, opening packs back in those days, which I was a big fan of. I really love that stuff. So welcome to the show, everybody. We're kind of shoddy memory. It's like Swiss cheese. Welcome to the show tonight, guys. It's going to be live. We are going to look at Q&A. I'm going to try to monitor comments, but don't. It's not going to be a full comment show as I think of it. We're going to talk about the big news, which is the SGC PSA thing first. We're going to start that. But some topics that are going to come up. We're going to talk about breaking versus boxes. One thing I love about ERB Sports and watching John is he's big into opening packs and opening boxes. I learned a lot from him. He's got a great strategy for him. I follow him and Step in the Box. What's the gentleman's name there?
Brett.
Step in the Box.
Yeah, Brett.
Brett. So I love his channel. We're going to talk about their style. I learn a lot from you guys. Like I use what you do to help me when I make decisions and breaks. And I'll talk about that. So we're going to talk why we do it, why we love what we do. And we're going to talk a little bit about content creators tonight. Just examples of small content creators, big content creators we follow, content creators we don't follow. I'll give you an example, kind of a teaser. I think the more you know in the hobby, the less followers you have. If you are not very good in the hobby and you stumble and you look foolish, I think you attract a lot of people. And I'll use that later on. You'll follow my theory on that later on. Or else I think they want to see you fall type of theory, right? If you know too much, they don't want to hear from you. We're also going to have a little open discussion, upcoming activities, breaks. I got a couple other topics here, and I'm looking at my notes here. I think I'm missing some stuff. John, anything else you wanted to add to that before we kind of kick off with the PSA RSA?
We got baseball season coming up. I know that's going to prompt a lot of selling. We got the NBA playoffs coming up. We could talk a little bit about that. You wanted to know about Series 1 update and Series 2, how that all works. Or you can ask me questions there, and then checklists and print runs. And then you pointed me to a channel the other day. I think it was called Chasing Majors. They had some really good stuff. I watched a couple of their videos, some interesting takes on data analysis that even I learned a little bit from. That my spreadsheets, as crude as they are, these guys take it to a whole nother level of data analytics, and that's pretty fun to see. So we can talk about those things, and then anything else that comes up in chat or that you think of.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show, guys. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to have you on the show and have this conversation. So let's go ahead and start off. SGC PSA, big news, big acquisition. Yesterday, I want to say there was I think I saw 15 different comments from different content creators. And some were like, emergency, the biggest thing since PSA or since Fanatics buys the hobby. I mean, it was like, I woke up and I thought to myself, is this really that big of news? And then I kind of took some time to digest all the content that was out there before I put together my video. John, what are your thoughts on it? What did you think?
Well, as a hobbyist, as somebody who I've used PSA a lot, I made a video on my year experience with PSA. I've used SGC before for $9. I didn't use them a lot, but I mostly used PSA last year. Acquiring SGC, I got to be honest, as a hobbyist, if I go to a card show, if I go to my local LCS, if I go online to eBay, whatever, all I'm really interested in is players I like. And whether it's in an SGC slab or a PSA slab, I don't really care. The thing I care about is the price right. If I'm going to grade in the future, if PSA jacks the prices because now they have a bigger market share, they're a monopoly, whatever, I won't submit as many cards. So that'll hurt them in the long run if people like me say, you know what, I'm not going to submit as much. So the cash machine goes both ways, right? They can certainly have more control over the market. They can certainly keep that as a separate business, but I don't have to use it. And then if the price goes wrong, I still don't have to use it. It's still my choice. And I can still participate in the hobby. And it doesn't matter what they own, who they own. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, if I want to go buy a Steph Curry card, or I want to go buy a Giannis Antetokounmpo card or a De'Aaron Fox card, those are my guys in the NBA. I got some baseball guys too, but if I want to go buy those guys, I don't really care who owns what grading company. It doesn't bother me one bit.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. I only add to this, though. I think it's such a non-important story in the sense of, like, again, it didn't change anything. People will still do the same thing. Like, honestly, here's what's going to happen. If you're such an SGC fanboy that you hate PSA, then you're making an emotional decision. It's an emotional decision. And I cannot talk you out of an emotional decision. But logically, nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. The money is going to one person.
Print runs are print runs.
Exactly.
Quality's quality.
And I've said this forever. I've said this for it's magic and wizards, right? Hogwarts bought another Academy of Magic, and now they're wizards. There's one Grand Wizard over two houses instead of two separate Grand Wizards. And I'll tell you, the first thing that I thought about that I think is great about this, that I think will come down the road later, is the first step to a universal set registry. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I don't know why more people aren't excited about this. In fact, people are like, oh, that's not going to happen. It'll take forever to do that. Why would PSA want to mix with SGC? Let me first of all say, most of the people I hear from are not PSA set registry people. It's interesting. The people who use it are passionate users. They love it. There's a different spin on why they're doing it. But one thing they like is the complete sets. And I'll give you an example. A lot of the vintage guys are trying to complete vintage sets where they have PSA blanks. And if they can now put an SGC certificate in there, that fills their collection. It increases their score. Now, it's not going to be like having a PSA 10 or a high-grade PSA. There'll be different grades. But that is the first, guys, to making PSA collectors start accepting SGC slabs. Second thing is SGC fanboys, once they wake up and go, oh, wow, what's the set registry everybody talks about? And they plug in a card and see it's really more than just, well, I don't collect this like they want me to collect. Plug a card in, guys. Try it out. You get a lot of information about your card. You get information about the pop count. You get information about the set that's in. You might find other sets. It's just like an encyclopedia of information. It's all free. So I think if that happens, you're going to see a bigger growth in collectors than we've ever seen before. This is a bigger thing, in my opinion, for the hobby than anything Fanatics has done, because it really brings together, and it should encourage others to either up their registry game, like put something else in the registry. Like today, it's just a gamified, badge system, but it's fun. You know what I'm saying? Try it out. Have you tried it at all? You know what I'm talking about?
I think I vaguely know what you're talking about, but I haven't used it myself. But I may go check it out soon, actually, because I'm curious now whether some cards I have could create a. Do I?
I would say, do you sub now with PSA? Do you have a PSA account?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so try it out, because here's the thing. I never use it. I put in one of the Luca PSA 10 Monopoly cards. That's a brand new set. I put it in there just to test it out. I got all this information about what other sets he has, pop counts, stuff that I was never aware of. To me, just that, I was like, holy shit. And then it made me want to then look at, did I want to collect all the Lucas? Do I want to collect all the All-Star sets? Do I want to collect all the 500s? If you are a collector, and come on, that's what we all say we are. Why would you not try this? Now, again, I'll tell you, I don't know. I think PSA is doing a poor job marketing it. I really do. But if you talk to passionate PSA set collectors, Mike Baseball Card Collector is one of them, and I haven't heard his opinion on would he accept SGC now or not. But I know a lot of SGC guys who've said, well, what's this registry thing? And that's what I'm saying. Find a PSA certificate, put it in there, play with it. The amount of free information, like you get all the recent sales data in there as well. And I want to say it's recent data. Like I think it's eBay sales, which again, that's not great, but it's free data. So again, I think that when that gets, and here's what I'd recommend. Right now, there's no value in collecting the set registry. You're just bragging with your buddies. I think whoever's running this should put prizes, right? At the end of the year, you win so many free certificates. At the end of the year, we send you to the national. At the end of the year, we give you $1,000 in gift cards, whatever it is. If they added something to the set registry, this thing would take off like fire, in my opinion. So I think that's the biggest, in me, the biggest SGC PSA. That's the biggest news that will come from this. It will take time, but this is the first block in doing that. And I also think strategically, that's what they've got to be thinking, right? And maybe I'm wrong, because I don't think this is rocket science. I'm not like, oh, Ziggy's the genius. He thought about this. I think everybody knows that this is a good step for them. I think people are hesitant because most of the people who talk about it don't use a set registry. Like I don't know of any good channels who demonstrate it. Even Mike who uses it. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I mean,
I'm listening. I know I've checked out the pop report when you look on there, like you type in the code, it gives you all the data, even for the cards I grade, and I see like, oh, I'm the first one that graded this card. That's kind of cool. But I know it's not the only one that's going to exist. So that tells me information about like when I get the card back, should I sell it right away? If I'm going to sell it, like, did I grade it to sell it just because I like to rip on my channel, and sometimes you gotta cover your costs somehow. So you hit a good card, you're like, well, I got to sell that. And it's sort of like a zero-sum game for me. Sometimes the more I'm ripping, the more I got to sell through stuff. Right now, I'm in a sell-through mode. You haven't probably seen as many ripping videos on my channel, mostly just because I haven't gotten many new products. I was going to steer clear of Series 1 just for me. I personally didn't want to open a lot of it. I'm not opposed to people who are. It looks like a fun product, but honestly, for me, getting cards back from grading now, I've got 3 orders that I just got back. I'm going to sell through as much as I can so I can hopefully have some fun come summertime.
I want to ask you how you're selling that in a moment. So tell me in a minute if you're selling yourself or using a consignor. But before I do that, let me go back to the Luca thing on the PSA. One thing that made me do is it made me pull up the Monopoly pop report. And I'm a big fan of Monopoly. Monopoly was out last year. I still think it's one of the best sets ever. Okay. And people don't understand this. We'll talk about that later. But what I looked on there was I was trying to get a sense of what is the average number of parallels, these short prints. Like there's these Running Man, there's the dice rolls, there's the handshake deals. How many of them on average per player are graded, right? Mm-hmm. I think when I was thinking about this, I'm like, this should be data that everybody should want to know. Like, for example, in baseball, we talk about SSPs. What is the average of an SSP each year? We don't talk about, are those going up or down? Are SSPs under 100? Are they under 200? And we can get a lot of pop data. It's not fully accurate, but it gives us a sense of, hey, there's 1,000 of these things graded. They're not that SSP. Or, hey, you know what? There's only been 50 of these graded. Totally. Right. That I think is information that I'd love to see. And I don't know anybody doing that today. It's like GemMint or whatever, they do all the variations of the pop counts, how many are coming out. They've got to be able to have the same information. Variation data, to me, I think is critical. Like I said, the Monopoly thing last year, I'm seeing that most of those are short printed under 100 on those handshake deals, those things, which is again why I think that product is so rich when you think about the way it's made. There's a lot of printed value in it. The biggest challenge is the class, right? It doesn't have a lot of rookies. It has Chet and it has Paolo last year. This year you've got Victor only. You got the 2 Thompson brothers. And I also would say, I don't know if you agree with this. I think
I was going to say, don't forget about.
That's Keegan. Right, Keegan Murray. You're right.
Yeah, I'm not going to say.
I think basketball.
He's going to get there. He's going to be a really good wing. But
I absolutely agree. Well, he's definitely going to get. He's what I follow Sports Card Strategy. He's one of those players who has what they call as a sell marker. When he has news, when he gets traded, when his team makes the playoffs, his value will go up because he is a playmaker. He's not somebody on the backside of the bench who's not a playmaker, right? Which is why when I look at breaks, I go after playmakers, right? And in basketball, I think you have 3 years to make money off a basketball player. You don't have to sell him in the first year to make money off him. You can, like people will. I think Victor, first year you get rid of him. The Thompson brothers, I don't think you sell them in year 1. I think Thompson brothers, you're holding on to them year 2 or year 3, and you sit on them. You don't need to move on them unless you need the cash, right? Like we talk about. Sometimes as you're ripping or breaking, you need the cash flow. But in my opinion, you stash away some of those GemMint 10s, sell off the PSA 9s to fuel the fire, and you do well in the future as you kind of grow this thing.
Yeah, you.
So how are you selling?
I have my own eBay store, so I try to sell as much as I can on my own. I do sell some of it off eBay to people who ask me, who are friends of the channel. They may see a card I graded. They may, catch me in a review video and say, "Hey, I'm interested in that card. Before you list it on eBay, hit me up. I might want to buy it cash value." And I was like, "Okay, I can certainly work out a deal." A lot of times I'm doing that. I don't trade a lot of the cards that I grade. I've only traded a couple of them just to get players I wanted. Last year at a local card show, I took a really nice Trevor Lawrence that I got a 10 on that I wasn't really heavily invested in the card, but I got a card I've been wanting for a while. I got a De'Aaron Fox PSA 10 Silver Prism rookie card that I only was into that card maybe for like $50. And I thought, this is a great deal. So, all things are in play, but mostly stuff on eBay. I do sell. I sell through a lot.
It's funny. I have been using DC Sports right now as my primary, and I really like them. I'm not a sponsor by them, or I'm not trying to tell people to use them. I basically bind up 10 slabs. I send them off to them in like 2 or 3 boxes, like 20 or 30 at a time, to try to stagger when they're going to hit the auction. That's my biggest complaint with them, is you cannot assign the time or the date, but you kind of line them up. But I love them because I get cash right away. They get a lot of eyes. I get pretty fast liquidity. I have been lazy about selling on eBay. Part of it was, I think, my printer broke and I stopped printing labels for a while. And then I got the printer fixed and I started using DC so much. I use ComC a lot. And when I go to trade shows, I will sell there to dealers that I know. And then I'll sell on Facebook. But I've thought about, the reason I bring it up is I watch an SCV, the auction, who talks about auctions, right? And you should always auction your own stuff. And I've yet to have the balls to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To run auctions on my own account.
He should
but I do run them through DC Sports, but I think takes balls, because there's a lot of cards I go on DC Sports and I'm like, damn it, that went for that. Are you kidding? Like, I sold that dude Spencer off like a month ago. Like, I don't know, half of what he's worth right now. I didn't know exactly who he was. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't have the timing on him, so I was like, I'll just list him. I'll get him out of here. I made money off him, but I still could have made more.
I did the same thing last year with Ellie De La Cruz. I sold it the day he got called up, and I thought, here's the high is here. And I had no idea that he was going to hit a stratosphere during the season, like in the month of June to July. And I thought, what have you done? Like, you could have sold that card for so much more. I mean, I made money on the deal. I made a lot of money on that card, but I could have probably made a lot more. And, the way I look at selling, it's sort of like dollar cost averaging, right? You're going to win some and you're going to lose some. There's some you're going to sell at the absolute perfect time. Those are your winners. You're never going to be 100% perfect. I've learned to just accept that. It's part of the game. You try to be as timely as you can. Like, mentioned auctions, right? So the other night, the All-Star game was going on, and I had a Steph Curry. I never sell Steph Curry. Never sell Steph Curry until this one time, because I wasn't like super attached to the card. I got it graded. It came back at 10. I was surprised by that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna test during the All-Star game to list this card for sale. It was a Silver Prism Select, the hobby version. And I thought, that's a cool looking card. And they had tons of followers, tons of action, tons of hits. It ended, the auction ended right during the All-Star game when he was shooting a bunch of threes right before halftime. The card never got bid up in the end, and I only sold it for like $30. And I was like, damn it. I'm like, I thought I did everything perfect. And I got screwed on that deal. And, the Warriors, after the All-Star break, they're like 8-2. And so now his prices are going back up, and it's like, you can't win them all. Sometimes you lose, and you just got to say, it wasn't my day. But then there are other days where I sold a card yesterday that I got more than I thought I would for it. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm happy.
Well, one thing for me is that you balance out those losses. Those losses help on the taxes on the wins. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I'm selling cards at $9 or $7 a card that are slabbed, I'm taking a loss, which I'm going to deduct from my $500 card that I maybe spent $100 on. I think that's something people need to think about too. And also, it's cash flow. I might need the cash. I want to keep like you said, it's not about putting new money in it's about it's about managing the cash. Like, the biggest thing, and let me even take a step back. The biggest thing, as you can kind of understand, is you get more educated. You understand what you're doing more. You become more passionate, more patient. You I think you grade a lot. I remember years ago, I didn't grade at all. One thing I can tell you since 2020 is I grade 90% of what I sell. I will take the time and going to grade. And I also grade stuff that people will say, oh, it's got a ding or mark or the corner. I don't care. And I love what SCV said about it. 80% of life is showing up. Send it to PSA. How many times we see them slab shit that you're like, oh, how this happened? Because someone submitted it. So I will submit. I get mad at like 7s or 6s, but if it's an 8 or 9, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'll take the loss. Sell for $9 or $10 for the 10 that I got. Sell for $300 or $400. So you learn that over time.
Yeah, I got a really funny story about grading. So you mentioned Step in the Box. You mentioned Brett's channel. So Brett goes to the Oak Creek, Wisconsin card show. And this is about a year ago, maybe about 10 months ago. It was last April. We went there and I looked at his showcase. We did a college visit with my son. We came back to the showcase at the end of the day, and I looked at a bunch of raw cards. And I started buying raw cards. And I said, Brett, you're going to give me a deal on these, dude. I was like, I only got like 60 or 80 bucks left. And so I loaded up a bunch of slabs and a bunch of raw cards. And I was like, raw cards, can we do $2 on each of them? And they had J-Rods and Michael Harris and O'Neal Cruz and Bryce Harper, HFA. Wouldn't you know it? I submitted all those cards to PSA. I got 10s on all of them. I got them for $2 a piece. And that was the easiest flip to like triple my money because I wasn't into those cards for any money. And I was like, Brett, who gave you those cards? He's like, oh, my friend Eddie or whatever. He didn't think they would grade. I'm like, they literally all got 10s. Like that was the greatest deal ever.
That's amazing. To get that many is amazing. To get 10s, I'm not shocked about.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that he'd filtered those out and said, I don't think these are grade worthy. And then I sent them all in. They got 10s. I was like, well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That was one time where I had a really low cost card. The grading was, I think it was like a special or something for like $15. So I'm into the card for like $18 with shipping both ways and sold them all for like $50 a piece. So I'm okay with that. That's not a lot of money, but still. That was a pretty cool flip considering I bought the card for $2.
Absolutely. In fact, it's funny. I'm a mathematical minded person. My background is math and engineering. I look at things statistically, everything in life. I look at odds on shit. I'm a gambler, right? I think as soon as you accept that is what the modern hobby is, as soon as that it's all numbers, it's all gambling. Don't give me any bullshit. Okay. It's easier. It's like taking the red pill in the Matrix. And that's why, for me, I boil this all down to, that's why I love PYT breaks, because it gives me the best value on how I can get what I chase. And it's funny, I love the Monopoly, and I've been debating over raiding all these Target stores and buying a bunch of Monopoly. Yeah. But at the same time, I know mathematically that's stupid. That is absolutely stupid to do. The best thing is to buy the Spurs in 100 boxes online. Okay, which is absolutely crazy, but you do that. That's probably $1,000 to buy them in 100 boxes and see what your return is on that. And then of those, you're likely going to get how many base Wembies are you going to get? Let's say you get one every 4 or 5 boxes. You grade all those. How many 9s? How many 10s? You go through that with the few hits, the big hits you get. That to me, it's all math. It's all statistics. It's like when you play anything in a casino, you're either there as a fish or you're there as a person playing the game. You know what I'm saying? Like when you sit down at the game, you go, I don't know how to play this. What's this 21? Then you're a fish. But if you understand 21, you understand the odds, you understand the 10 card, you understand who's next to you. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things. Same thing with everything in the modern hobby, in my opinion. And that's why I think it's important that we share more data. Like one thing I love that you do a great job of is the print run information, calculating the print runs, right? I love your breakdowns. We'll talk about chasing majors, which is somebody who did a different breakdown. But Scotty B does a breakdown. To me, it's always interesting. I wish that Topps would come out, I don't care if it's 5 years later, and just kind of endorse this one was closest to correct, or this one was correct. Give us something. You know what I mean? Like I admire the fact, and I have heard the stats are better. Topps is probably the best one at giving odds, which is something I'm excited about because again, as a gambler, I look forward to Topps, Chrome, NFL, all this stuff when I know the math behind it. Right, when I know what I can chase and what teams and stuff like that. So to me, it's gambling. Thoughts? And real quickly, I just want you to know I'm paying on a break I just won. I just won a $10 Spurs break for tonight, so I'm super excited about that. So give me 1 second and go ahead and comment as I'm paying here.
Yeah, as Ziggy was saying, when it comes to ripping versus breaking, one of the things that I know Brett does a lot on his channel, and I tried to do it on my channel, but big sample size. So you pick a product you like. if you're going to rip a lot of a product, that has a good chance, good odds. It still is gambling, but at least you're sort of like looking at it from the perspective of, if I know the finite print run, I know the cost I'm going into it with might be a little lower. Logo Fractor is a great example on the baseball side. Only 110 card checklist. The number of hits per box was pretty fair. You can usually calculate the number of boxes. It was low. When you were getting a $50 price point on a box, and you got a very good chance at pulling some really high-end cards that are going to be very sought after, that was a way to hedge your bet and say, if I'm going to go heavy on something, I go heavy in a large sample on a product that I know is good. The same thing goes for breaks. When you mentioned for the Wemby hunt, you want to just buy the Spurs. If you're buying the Spurs in 2 boxes, that's one thing. But if you're buying, like you said, in 1,000 boxes, your sample size is so much bigger. You could still lose, but it's probably way better odds than just the 2 or 3 box break for the fraction of a cost that you're like, well, if I'm going to go in on a large sample. Don't go in on a small sample, because you could get gutted there. And if you go in on a large sample, you could still lose, but maybe you'll get a better chance at getting what you're looking for to then grade a couple cards or get the right base cards. You know, the condition sensitive, Monopoly with the centering has always been kind of an issue. But I would say that's a really good way of looking at it, is sample size matters in addition to the odds when it comes to ripping or breaking products. You got to have enough irons in the fire to be able to have a chance. If you're playing odds and gambling anyway, you could go put a quarter in every single slot machine in a casino. One of them may win, and or none of them may win. Not saying if you put $1,000 in one machine, you're guaranteed to win, but you got 1,000 opportunities. And if you're willing to risk that, I'd rather bet on the 1,000 opportunities than the 1,000 different opportunities, one at a time.
Yep.
So
what casino games do you like? Are you a casino player?
What games do I like?
Yeah.
When I go to casinos, usually I bet on the sports games. When I play games at a casino, not a big casino person necessarily, really? But my wife likes slot machines.
ERB, you're eating, ripping, and betting.
I know.
You're not a casino guy. I love it.
Sports betting, though. When I go there, I'll do parlays.
No, I understand. Yeah. The reason I ask you that, like I said, I'm a degenerate gambler. I'm not actively a degenerate gambler, but over my life, I've done it all. And when it comes to casino games, I think I have played all of them. And in my opinion, each has a system. And my point to that is, when you go teach someone to play blackjack, you can tell them to go have fun. It's 21. You try to get 21. Or you explain to them, look, okay, the game is, it's a $5 buy-in. You need to go there with about $200 because you need to calculate how many hands you're going to be willing to play. Okay, here's what you're looking for. You're trying to get 21. You're trying to bust the dealer. Don't worry about the players. You teach them some basics. There's some rules to that. Unfortunately, sports cards is a lot more complicated to learn, and even a lot more complicated when it comes to breaking. And it's interesting because here's what I can tell you from being in breaks for, I don't know, 9 years now. There's 2 types of people. There's a noob who's coming in, who stumbles in, who's buying the filler or buying the big teams. He's got money. He has no idea what the hell he's doing, and he's not there long. You know what I'm saying? And then there's one guy, always in the corner, always quiet, always taking the filler team. You don't know who the hell he is. And it's like a system to him. There's often many of those guys. You know what I'm saying? So to me, breaking is just like when you go to a casino. There's a guy who lives at the casino who, he's got all the comps. He's got a nice stack. Mm-hmm. He is a professional casino person. He might not always win, but he's making money. And then there's a guy coming in who's there for the few days, throwing his money away. And as soon as you understand that about gambling, and I'll say this too, this is why I'm pro regulation in the hobby, because this is a goddamn casino. I mean, we need to stop calling it anything else. I'll say this right now. I think I'm anti-kids in the hobby. And I know that sounds weird. I have 6 kids, but I don't see this as positive for all kids. There are some things that are positive attributes to it, but this could be just as bad as if they're, I don't know. There's other things they could be doing better with, is my point. This is a good pathway to fantasy betting, because this is what my sons have been through, which then gets you to a FanDuel account. You got a fantasy football account, so you do parlay betting. I'm saying it's such a slippery slope. And my kids too, when they used to have cards, their cards to them were just cash. Hey, Dad, can you sell my Luke? I want $100 for it. Oh, Dad, I want to sell this card. I need $50 for it. They don't collect the card. It's just cash to them. They're chips. They're basically poker chips that are sitting on their table that are slab now.
Yeah. One of the
Thoughts,
things you hit
comments?
on, no, one of the things you hit on when it comes to casino and gambling. So you mentioned sports and FanDuel and stuff like that. So I forgot, my ERB. So one of the things that I have a DraftKings account that I've played off my winnings for the better part of 8 years. I have never put another dime. I put time into it, but I've never put another dime of money into it other than my winnings. And bankroll management, much like it is in sports gambling or daily fantasy sports, same thing goes in cards. And I'm realizing that I wish I would have done that 2-3 years ago. I've really stayed disciplined. Like, card money is card money. I don't ever want to put any more of our own cash into this. I just want to play off the grading returns that I had, or the box returns if I got lucky, or I sold a card that I flipped. Like last year, I sold some Fox during the playoffs and I doubled up. I just want to play off those winnings from here on out. I don't want to put any more new money into it. Same thing goes for sports betting, bankroll management. And I think when it comes to sports cards, somebody could teach, maybe that's give me a great idea for a video. Teach a class on sports card bankroll management. It's not about, keep putting money in the slot machine. It's about stay disciplined, right? And the same thing goes for grading. You can only grade with the money that you can afford to grade with if it doesn't turn out well. And you can only afford to open boxes if it doesn't turn out well. But try to stay disciplined, bankroll manage very strictly. And if that means you open up less boxes, fair enough. But you can always count on the fact that you're never going to run out of money, hopefully, fingers crossed. So to me, that's definitely something that I've tried to stay more disciplined in the sports card side of things. My channel forced me, maybe through my own doing, to open up a lot of product because that was part of the channel. And that's what helped the channel grow. But not that I want to stop doing that, but I want to do more disciplined going forward.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it comes down to, I think, patience, right? And understanding the time. It's not about timing necessarily the market, but you understanding what's happening. Like for me, one thing I used to do before COVID was with my boys and I, we would send 2 or 3 cards a month away to PSA. Often it was closer to 5 or more, but we're sending every month some PSA cards. So that way, 6 months later, 4 months later, we were always getting cards back. And then we could sell 1, 2, all of those. But we started, snowballing. And then what was nice was when COVID hit, we had PSA cards coming back when everybody else wasn't. We also had a whole bunch of cards that were ready to grade that we ended up selling raw because of the timing. Mm-hmm. Like I remember we made so much money off of base Prism cards. Oh my God. Because I had every year's base Prism card from 2012 to the present. Base ugly Prism cards. I had Beals, I had Kawhis. Again, and I was selling them raw, but I had them. We found the LeBron 2012. We had found a couple of those in one of my son's binders because he was collecting LeBron back then. But when all that was popular, I'm thinking, shit, we couldn't grade it, but we had that system in place and we're able to cash out on that. Because again, we were collecting rookies every year, put those rookies away, which I know others do that. You put away those when you're ripping boxes. No rookie's a bad rookie because you don't know when his day is going to come. With me, my only focus, I focus in on smaller set of rookies. I'm not trying to catch every rookie. I just want to get in the top 5 rookies that I save every year. So I think this is what I love talking about it is you prove to all those people out there go, oh, you can't make money ripping packages, ripping boxes. I disagree. I think you have to know what the hell you're doing. You have to know what products you're opening. You have to have the patience. You have to know when to sell, when to grade, dollar cost averaging, all those things, because I'm not going broke doing this. I've been doing this for years. I'm not rich doing this, right? Yeah. I've had to pay taxes on it, which is something that's made me aware of this thing. Like I used to not care about it. And then I started getting hit by taxes. I'm like, what the hell, man? Because those damn 1099s keep showing up. So I had to show my losses.
I agree. I think, boxes, I've opened a lot of boxes on my channel that I have that they're dud boxes, and going back to what we were saying about the sort of like zero-sum game, as long as you stay disciplined in your approach, right? Stay away from bad products. Like that's one thing, like Prism 2021. I bought a little bit of that, and I did not open any of it. You watch enough YouTube openings, and you're like, this, no way. I mean, if somebody then wants to buy the product, take it off my hands, and I'll walk away saying I made a bad buy. I'll break even on this. I'm okay walking away rather than, doubling down on crazy where, I might say like, well, let's rip it all and see what happens. No, I want to improve my odds. So then I'll wait for another product to come around, like a logo fracture or, I know Brett does a lot of Bowman Chrome on his channel. Some of the Topps exclusive products online at the time were very popular. You did pretty well on those, even if you had a bad box. Black and white was another great example this year. I opened my box. It wasn't even that great, and I still broke even on it just because there wasn't a lot of it. I calculated the number of boxes that existed, and there were like, I think they were going to be like 4,000 to 6,000. I'm like, this isn't very many at all. Sure, I could have held the boxes, but I opened it up. I got a decent Volpe. I got a Corbin Carroll. I got a couple cards I graded, and I sold through a couple of those cards. I got a couple of rookies left, but I'm already ahead on the box, and I didn't even have a great box.
It's funny. Those products are kind of a paradox to me, right? Because all those products, even the Bob Ross product, they all come out. They're all very similar to all the other bigger name products. They're super short printed. We know that. We can statistically look that there's less of them, but mathematically or value wise, they don't do as well. And I think to myself, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you can't tell me that collectors are out there going, oh man, there's nothing rare out here. There's too many of these. Well, stop collecting Series 1 flagship then. Go collect the freaking, black box, the autograph stuff. There's so many unique sets. I think it's amazing. It's funny. I'll tell you this too. My strength was always basketball and football primarily, and Bowman baseball. I did not follow the baseball products. I learned a lot following you guys over the last few years on which products I wanted to dip my toe into and which ones I wanted to kind of dodge away from. I would say this year, I think that just flagship in general, Series 1, Series 2, there's no reason to touch it. There's just no reason. Statistically, it's not worth spending your money. Even in a break, I don't think it's worth it right now. I'd rather wait for Chrome and go balls deep in Chrome. We have the MVP chases. You'll have Chrome cards. You're going to have lots of rookies, shinies. I'm waiting for Chrome season.
Yeah, no, if you had – Brett didn't post a lot of this on his channel, but he's opened 11 cases of Chrome Blasters now. He's been chasing that MVP buyback, which is – today is the last day. But I think he's sort of like walked away from the table. He kept doubling down on it and kept trying to churn through that. He hit some really good cards that he'll grade. He hit a couple Corbin Carroll autos. He hit a Michael Harris auto, of Anthony Volpe auto. So he's got some good cards that he's going to grade. But, that sort of product where it had a modest increase in a print run, but still had a decent chance to pull really good sought-after cards. With the buyback, kind of made that a little easier to swallow. You mentioned about flagship, about not buying it. I think buying boxes to open, it's going to be, in some cases, fun, but you're going to have a hard time breaking even on that product, even if you grade, because the cards are going to be tough to grade for one thing. And then the second thing, nobody really grades the base cards, but a lot of these parallels, there's just going to be so many of them. I opened one mega box on my channel. I did pretty good. I sold through most of the good cards by now on auction because I knew they were going to go down in value. And I'm like $10 short of my box price, which is not great, but not horrible. And I thought I had a really good box. There's a lot of boxes that will not be like that at all. They'll be much worse. And there's going to be the few rare ones where maybe it has a really good Ellie parallel or Dominguez parallel, and you'll do okay on that. But for the most part, you're probably going to lose on Series 1. And when I saw the number of boxes they made and then taking cards out of the boxes, I thought, no way. I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to stay disciplined. But my wife was at a Barnes & Noble, and she said, hey, you want anything? Took a picture of the card thing. And I was like, is that the last box on the shelf? And she said, well, let me ask. I said, well, if it is, I'll buy it. Take the chance on the last box standing. See if we hit anything good. So – yeah, that was my one cave on Series 1, and that is it.
Yeah, my only Series 1, I did do one Dodger break at a Mojo just out of fun to take a shot at that, and that was it. I got the cards back. I want to see the cards as well, get some in hand. I'm not doing any more. I've several times, though, had retail hangers and mega boxes in my hand of Series 1. up to checkout and go, no, I'm putting this back. The only thing I bought retail this year so far is Monopoly Prism. I made a New Year's resolution that I wasn't going to do any retail at all. Oh, I take that back. I did do some Prism damn football. I did the football too. I have to admit I'm an addict, but those are the only things I'm doing because again, I'm very much focused on playing the numbers. I'd rather do a break. Like tonight, I'm going to do 30 boxes of the Spurs and Monopoly Prism, right? I'm going to take a shot, but I feel very confident about this because again, I've also seen, like I said, on average, I think it's 4.5 boxes are yielding one Wimmy.
Yeah, there's
right?
only 90
you get that
cards
one back, you grade them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 90 cards a checklist. I think, and also there's so many beautiful hits in this thing, man. You got there's a 1-of-1 Wimby out there. There might be 2 of them. Last year there were 2 in the product. There was a black 1-of-1 and a white 1-of-1. I have not seen, I'll say this too real quickly. We can transition about this. There's no good checklist this year. I can't find a good checklist anywhere.
It's unfortunate.
And that's killing me.
I wish all products had published checklists well in advance of release. I appreciate the mystery because it makes it fun, but the checklist really helps have visibility to, like, is it is it a valuable product or not? Like when it comes to the variety or the sought after cards. You mentioned retail openings. So I caved today and I, like you, haven't opened a lot of retail this year. I did a fair amount last year and definitely the year before. But this year, so I bought some basketball. My wife, again, was at Target. She bought 3 blaster boxes of Prism basketball. I made the mistake. I opened one of them off camera. I hit a Wemby cracked ice.
Nice.
I was like, oh my God, I hit like the best card you can even hit and nobody's going to see it.
Still take pictures of it, put it up everywhere. That's still beautiful, man.
I just got it graded. I was hoping it would get a 10, but it's coming back to me as a 9. So I'm gonna have to decide what to do on that one, whether I sell it and take the money and move on, or crack it out and send it back. But
what's a PSA 9 sell for? What's the price difference? Yeah, I'd sell it.
Yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna sell it and take the money. And
I'll tell you the reason I say that is I think there's a lot of shiny in all the Prism products, right? There's a lot of shiny Strouds, there's a lot of shiny Wimbys, but there's a lot of them. So although the cracked ice is rare right now, I think when we see the numbers in the future, there's a lot of cracked ice. There's a lot of the purple, a lot of them, because they don't have the autographs. They're printing the shit out of this stuff, and they know that, and we're eating it up. Because at the minimum, I will tell you this though, it's $100 card or more in a few years. Is it a $400 card as a PSA 9? I don't know. But it's probably going to hold a good value of $100 PSA 9 shiny Prism. And this is why I'll tell you too, I love Prism and I love Topps Chrome, right? I don't chase these other shit products. And I hate to say that. There's too many garbage products out there that should die. And we should be more focused on what we have because you get better value out of it. And I'll also say this too. It's funny you make the comment about how you kind of like the mystery and checklists. I think a lot about this. Would you play the lotto if you didn't know how much money you were going to win? You know what I'm saying? The lotto just said, hey, just play. Right. And that's why, you can't.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That this needs to be regulated where products should not be released until checklists are out. Because knowing the checklist, and here's what also happens. A lot of times, you know who knows the checklists? The breakers do. And then the breakers can buy the big teams in the big spots, or the sleeper teams you might not know about. Like say, I don't know, some shit team has the most manga hits in it statistically. So they start filling all that up. All this needs that visibility in it, right? We know the numbers are out there. We know the cards are out there. We know the valuations are out there. This is one thing I'm excited about Fanatics, again, taking all this over, is once it's under one roof, they'll come under more scrutiny to do things like self-regulate themselves, right? To take steps, in my opinion, to recognize this, to give odds, to give checklists out, to listen to us. So I'm excited about that part of what Topps is doing.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. You wouldn't play the lotto if you didn't know what the top prize was, or if you didn't know what the payouts were. You would want to know. I think that's one thing that's so frustrating, and I do look forward to Fanatics taking over the basketball and football. I hope they never do away with the published odds on their website. That's just valuable data that helps the customer make an informed decision if they know that it's there to look for it. I hope they never discontinue that. If they do, that won't be very good. Because I think Panini lately, like you said, they're printing the absolute crap out of the stuff. Barely anything is numbered anymore. So you have no idea how many of anything exists because you don't know how many boxes exist. So I tried to, the only way you could do that is you have to watch a lot of views, a lot of videos and get a lot of views to see like a sample size. Like I'm going to, you mentioned Monopoly. So you'd say like, oh, I'm going to need to watch, 100,000 or 100 or 1,000 boxes open. And I'm going to keep data on the number of hits, the number of cards numbered under 50, the number of short prints, et cetera, et cetera. And then I can estimate the number of boxes and how hard it might be to hit the 1-of-1, right? That's the only way you can do it. And that just takes a lot of time. I think that channel you sent me the link for, I actually think they started to do that for Panini, even though they admit it's almost impossible. But you've just got to you've got to just assess a sample size. Somebody's got to put in that work. Whether somebody's going to trust your estimate or not, I don't know. But I did the same thing for the hanger boxes of Prism football because I was curious. You have the gold cards numbered out of, I think they're numbered out of 10. Then you have the purple cards numbered out of 99. And the purple cards were coming out about 1 in every 7 or 1 in every 10 boxes. So you could estimate the number, 400 card checklist or 450 on the checklist, 99 parallels per player. You get the total number of parallels. You estimate the number of boxes. You're going to get about like 300 to 400,000 boxes. Then you look at the golds numbered to 10, and you needed to see a big sample size to know how many of those like were coming out at what rate. And to me, that broke down to about 1 in every 100 boxes to maybe on the low end, 1 in every 50 to 60. So again, you sort of correlate those two numbers and say, does that make sense? Does that seem like about right? Given that Walmart and Meijer are the only stores that are going to sell this. And I was able to triangulate on an estimate. And that's why we keep seeing waves show up on Walmart's website, because I think there's just so many of them.
I agree.
They've not run through all of them yet.
No, I agree. It's so interesting to hear you. Like, one thing I want to talk to you about, we'll kind of transition to chasing majors. Let me also ask my series question. How do you calculate the print runs with the tops and why it's much easier? And I agree with you. Like the chasing majors guys, did you think his was as accurate as what you would calculate? Think about that, right?
He had
go ahead. Go ahead. And for everybody in the audience, Chasing Majors is a website I came across. It's a channel, Chasing Majors, I think, on YouTube. And he has a website, chasingmajors.com. And he did a really good breakdown of just product and print run for Top Series 1. And he looks like he's trying to be a replacement for Cardboard Connection, putting out checklists as well, as I think one of the things he's going to be doing. Which, again, I'll say there's a big gap in, like, I don't know, and I know that Sports Card Radio beat up on this, why there's not a good checklist that, as he points out, we fanboys, right? I'm a fanboy of breaks. I need a good checklist. There used to be one that used to give you the hits in the product too. It was called Group Break Checklist. And there was also Ninja Breaks. Those have not been updated. And that would not just tell me what the cards were, but it would tell me, for example, the Chiefs have 500 autographs or whatever, or 500 patches. They would give me numbers of hits versus, say, the Dolphins only have 300 patches. You know what I'm saying? Those are important numbers. All that data is out there. We're not getting that. And we need that. And I'm actually surprised, like even the data tool companies aren't pulling that together for us. You know, like, it's out there. It's out there, guys.
It's, it's really interesting you say that. And I want to I'll cover that one. And then I'll go back to how I calculate print runs and stuff. But, you mentioned about the fact that Chasing Majors are I don't know how long they've been around, but they barely have like 510 subscribers on YouTube. They should have like 10,000. Their data, if you go dig into what they have, I'm not saying I do my print run analysis the same way, but the level of depth that they go through, like aqua parallels. We know the Fanatics boxes are like, everybody's enthralled with them right now. They're like, oh my gosh, the Fanatics boxes are so great. You're going to chase down these redemptions for the jersey from J-Rod and the baseball and bat from Adley Rushman. Awesome. You'd probably be better off just buying that, honestly. Because, yes, it's a $30 lottery ticket, and, yes, you might hit that. But they're 1 in every 250 boxes. But the Aqua Parallels, they're in every pack. There's 9 packs per box. There's a 350-card checklist. So the guy does his analysis of how many boxes of that exist. And I didn't separate Fanatics boxes from everybody else in my run. I just looked at blasters in totality. But there's like 4,000 of those Aqua Parallels per player. they're not rare cards. Those are not rare at all. So wait for all those to be opened up. You'll get your Ellie De La Cruz for $5. Like, I would just say let people have that fun. Enough of them will hit the market. Maybe you'll get a few that you can grade. You can judge them in person at a card show. They're going to be everywhere. And that was one thing I didn't do in my analysis. And I don't know that too many other channels have done that. I know Scotty B has done some estimates on the number of base cards that exist, but the unnumbered parallels that are sort of like those hidden gems, like the yellows and the yellow crackles and the yellow foils. And he
mentioned
really
that too, right? That was the one he said was super short print.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've always wondered. Now I know the hobby is sort of taught certain norms, right? So gold cards, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, gold cards! You always got to go gold is like king, right?" Well, the gold cards in flagship are always printed to the number of the year, which is like, now that we're in 2024, it keeps going up every year, and it's 2,000 cards. That's not a rare card at all. And the yellow foil, he said that the print run on that is like 170. And it's like nobody values that card at all. And it's like, well, if you get a 10 in that card, I've always wondered this, and I want to make a video about it. Rainbow foils, right? They say rainbow foils are tough to grade, right? A rainbow foil is basically a paper refractor, right? Same thing. It's a paper shiny card.
Yep.
It's the base paper shiny card. Everybody says, well, they're really tough to grade. Why aren't they more valuable than chrome refractors? Because chrome refractors are really easy to grade. Rainbow foils are really hard to grade. So, and the print runs are, I would argue, probably identical. But people value the refractor because it says chrome on it. But the more rare card, the more tough grade of a card is the rainbow foil PSA 10.
Which is when I remind myself all the time. That's when I start thinking to myself, you're using too much logic. You got too logical in the hobby. Yes. Stop. Yes. It's emotional. Back up. It's like you're too far smart, right? Down the rat hole. Right?
Yeah.
Again, it is numbers. It's gambling. But again, don't beat up the trends. Don't argue with why is a damn silver prism so valuable when it's in every damn product. I don't know. I'm not going to argue that. I'm going to go get it because I know it's out there. I'm going to get the ones of Wimby, and I'm going to sell the damn things.
Yeah. No, you hit it right on the head there. There's a lot of emotion in it, and logic sometimes doesn't make sense. People just throw that out the window and they say, I'm taught what I'm taught, and it's what people tell me. It's what the experts tell me. It's what the dealers tell me. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and it sort of never bucks the trend. But I myself, I grade cards. I don't have to grade cards that are numbered necessarily to know that they're rare. I just know they're extremely hard to hit. And therefore, I'm going to grade that card because I know somebody's going to want that someday. And I did that with a bunch of Steph Curry cards where, if you follow my channel at all, like huge Steph Curry fans. I'll grade anything Steph Curry if I think it's rare. Even if it's not numbered, I don't care. And I'm just going to keep it. I put it in the safe, and I'm not going to think about it for 10 years. I'm just like, you know what? I don't care what happens. He's got 5 championships, 4 championships, whatever. All-time three-point king. 10 years from now when he goes into the Hall of Fame or whatever, you never know what's going to happen. But he's got such a floor baked in. I'm like, I don't need numbered cards of Steph Curry to know that they're rare. Even the non-numbered stuff to me is fun to collect.
It's funny. When you mention Steph Curry, I can list off to you all the major hits I've had of Steph Curry. I have none of those cards anymore. I've sold them all off. But I love Steph Curry. And for me, I don't regret it. I'm not going to sit here because they're all worth a lot more money. I'm not going to argue that. But I love the memories I have for them. For example, this hat right here was from Steel City, where way back in 2018, my son and I were into breaks. And what got us into breaks was I'm a divorced dad, and my sons were big into sports cards. And I could buy into a break, and we could get on a YouTube and chat in the break about what the cards were and getting the hits. Without it being dad and son, it was Ziggy and, I forget my son's handle, but we could chat back and forth. And one of the breakers pulled for him. I had Curry, I had the Warriors and in innovation, and he pulled Stephen Curry auto patch numbered to 10. My son was just super. He wanted any Steph Curry card, but he got auto patch card to 10. right? He was so excited about that. I bought the hat from the breaker. He had the hat on sale as well. So this reminds me of that memory. My son got the card, loved the card. We got it graded, sold it kind of pre-COVID when we wanted some cash, everything. We sold LeBron cards. We sold lots of Curry cards. I had Curry 1 of 1 college card we hit in a break. So it's funny. I agree. There's so many cards where if like the player, I chase Curry and the Warriors because if I get any shiny Curry, I grade him. He's going to have value for me. It might not be right away. And sometimes, right, you wait a month or 2 or 6 months when people don't have that card around as much. They'll buy a silver prism 6 months later, a year later. Oh, just because it's unique. They'll pay 50, 60 bucks for a 10, maybe 30, 40 for a 9. You still make money off the card. And that's what, I love that about the hobby is that, and I'll tell you this too. I used to be, sadly, more collector. I'm definitely more investor and thrill seeker. Like to me, the hobby is it's surfing waves. I used to surf as a kid, and you look at the sets, you prepare for the wave, you enjoy the wave, you know when to get the hell off the wave and get out for another set. You don't showboat up to the beach, crash on the reef, and bleed all over the place. You know when to get off. And I it's sad. And like I said, my kids don't collect anymore. My kids aren't even active in it anymore. So to me, it's really about chasing the memories. I enjoy the stories, the people I enjoy. And I'll tell you another thing too. I don't sell at the maximum value. I'm not out trying to make the most value when I get a card. When I get them, I often will sell them to collectors or friends for less than comps, always less than comps to people that I know. Or else if I grade them, I send them off to DC Sports and let the auction take them and see where they go. I recently pulled the black 101 for the Indianapolis, the Colts guy, Josh Downs. Is that his name?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I got his black shimmer out of a first off the line break. I was super excited about that because I was chasing Anthony Richardson, right? And then one of my friends reaches out to me. He's chasing the rainbow. He had like 30 of the cards already. He's like, "Come on, man, you got to sell me that card." I'm like, "Oh, God damn you, man!" So I gave him a great price on it because I know he's going to complete that rainbow, having the 101. But it's those stories to me that mean more about the hobby. It's getting the card, fueling the fire, make some money. Make a friend, enjoy the trade, enjoy the experience, enjoy the break, whatever it is. And that's what I love about your channel and what you guys, which I see you do with us Step in the Box, just chasing the products, opening the boxes, the memories you get from that, the hits, the cards. I'll remember the expired redemptions. After you did that video, I went and opened all of my old product, dude. You inspired me. All the old product I've been sitting around, I'm like, that needs to come out. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Get that shit out of the closet. Let's open that.
I did the same thing. I gave all the rest of the product to my wife after I pulled that expired redemption, and I said, here, honey, have at it. I said, I don't want to think about this anymore. I'm like, just rip it all. I told her, I said, for New Year's, I put it on the table that I'm sitting at here, and I said, go to town.
Well, to me, I think that's
something
to change.
What's that?
I think that's what's changed about in the last few years. Is I really think the value of sealed wax, I don't want to say it's gone. It's just not really there. Like, I'll put it this way. If you're managing cash flow and you've got $1,000 of cash flow, do I want to lock that up in some product I'm going to wait around for 6 months, a year? Maybe it's going to 2X. When honestly what's going to happen is I'm going to damn open it likely. So to me, I'm just going to focus on buying breaks. And I'll tell you this, I do chase Montgomery Club. I like some of the stuff they have. I'll chase the Sapphire. I'll try to get my 2 boxes if I can, but I'm going to stay away from the retail. I'm going to stay away. I'm not doing the I normally did the release day hobby box. I'm not doing that this year.
Yep. Maybe on Chrome, like you said, Chrome hobby box. Hopefully the print run doesn't increase that much. And the checklist is going to be solid this year because you also have to include the Series 2 rookies, which is probably going to be pretty good. So that should be pretty solid. And I think, like you said, hit on the products that are worth opening, but always plan it in a budget. The one thing I'll go back to the sealed wax thing. You mentioned about does it hold value? Well, I think the retail products maybe don't hold as much value as they did during the pandemic. And that's fine. Sometimes, sort of lesson learned. Not that I had a ton of it, but, I had 10 boxes of optics sitting on the shelf. I opened one randomly in a video to talk about the 2020 draft class being better than people think. And I pulled a freaking LaMelo Ball redemption, which was a purple on-card auto. And my heart sank. I was like, what in the world have you done? I'm like, that is that's one of the best cards you could have pulled at that time. Not now, but at that time,
2021.
that was probably $1,000 card.
Easily.
And
Yes. Raw.
Easily. And
as a redemption.
Raw. Yeah, as a redemption, exactly. And I would have sold that. And so when my wife opened all the cards, the thing I was looking for is, because the rookie class is so deep, there were plenty of cards in there that I could grade. And I graded all the Halliburtons, all the Edwards, all the Maxis, and I graded a couple of Mellow Balls. About half of them came back 10s. So we did okay on ripping all that product, because we hit some pretty good cards in those box openings. Even though we probably lost money raw, we still got decent. Like the rookie class was so deep that the Edwards still did really well, and the Halliburton still did really well. And I wasn't expecting that, because many people say, "Oh, that product's trash." It might be tough to get a lot of super value out of that. But just for happenstance, did you know you could buy a case of that product right now in Blowout for under $400 for optic blasters? They're like less than $19 a box. I looked at a case break just so I could see the sample size. I think in every case you're guaranteed like 3 Ant-Mans, three of each rookie, and the base rookies, because Edwards,
do they have downtowns?
Halliburton.
No, but do they have downtowns?
I think optic is not really going to have downtowns. I don't think it does. Not in the basketball. In the football, yes, but in basketball, the downtowns are in the Panini 1-in-1 product. But you're basically chasing purple rookies. You're chasing numbered cards, and you're chasing autos, and then the hollows. But you get enough hollows and enough purples. It almost justified, like, to me, taking the mild risk on less than $20 a box. Like, if you grade the Edwards that you're almost guaranteed to get, and you get 2/3 of them to be 10s, those are like $65 cards, because not many people graded them because people thought that product was trash. And the pop report on the Halliburton, I graded one of the base rookies in the optic, got a 10. You don't really grade base, but I was surprised when I got it back that only 200 of them so far have gotten 10s. 200. That's not a lot when you think about in 2020, they were grading Luis Robert and other, Tatis, and they were getting 20,000 10s. This was a very, very tough to grade product. Yes, it would be a gamble if you opened up a case, but I looked at that and said, well, at what point does that case then become so cheap it's actually worth opening the cards just to see if you get what you get? And it's really entertaining to see if you get something really good, and then you can grade it. You're like, hey, I did okay on that. And that rookie class is really deep. I got a lot of shots on goal, more or less.
As you tell that story, I'm thinking to myself, I totally agree with you. And I wonder, why doesn't a card store source their inventory that way? Like the whole Cards HQ thing, why aren't they buying cases of that product, stripping it down, sending it out to get graded because they have have access to grading, and selling it in their own retail stores because then they can fill their inventory of Ant-Man and all those cards? Like, to me, the answer to that is that too much of that is wasteful. But if you could only buy those teams, you're going to make a good amount of money. Yeah, and I think that some of the, and I'll tie it in, is I think some of the big people who source are buying into breaks, and that's how they get those cards. You know what I mean? Because again, everything you say is mathematically makes sense. Like, the money's there. It's a grind. You got to grind. You got to play the numbers. There's an upside, downside. You got to have the patience to grade, right? And the other thing, you have to have the cash flow, right, to manage this.
Right.
In fact, here's a quick side thought, and I want to come back to my series 1 question before I forget. But I've always thought to myself, and I mentioned to some friends, a lot of people have great knowledge and have a system of how they're making money in sports cards. If they pulled that together in like a conglomerative, 4 or 5 guys with a couple $1,000s and some insight and some hard work, would that system work? Could you make a kind of mutual fund system out of it where, hey, we're going to put money, you and I are going to focus on basketball. We're going to take 20% of the portfolio and focus on this, and give guys updates on a weekly basis. Here's what we're buying. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're grading. The other guys do baseball or something. Would that system work in the modern hobby today? And is it already going on? Are people already doing that? I do know people do that chasing breaks, right? The guys who had the triple global man or 3 rich guys who are buying into breaks in going after that card, chasing it. So thoughts on that, on kind of that conglomerative and pulling together your resources to kind of broaden you have the knowledge, it's about the cash flow and going after not one case of that optic, let's get 5 cases of that shit and do it. Right?
Yeah.
Build the sample pool. Is it worth doing that? I don't know.
I mean, it's a really good question. I know that there was a channel that tried to do that last year during the baseball season early on. I think it was PC Sports Cards. You mentioned DC Sports but PC Sports Cards, I remember Brett sent me the link to that. They were going to do a what's better, buying raw to grade or ripping to grade. And I think they each started with $1,000 and wanted to see by the end of a certain number of months who had the bigger bankroll. I don't know where that ended up. I don't know if they ever followed through in the end, but the guy that was ripping product, he was picking bad products, and he was ripping products that didn't really have a great chance at a hit. Because what he probably should have done is stick that $1,000 in like Logo Fractor at the time. If he could have got Logo Fractor for $50 a box, not saying he could have, but if he could have, buying 40, or what would that be? 20 boxes at $50 a piece. That's a better opportunity than the case of I think he bought Chrome Update, which was a quality control disaster and very, very few hits. And so it's like, well, what did you expect to happen? Unless you got a really good Julio, you were kind of going to get skunked on that product. So you probably should just buy the break of the Mariners in that product for a cheap price and hope for the best. But reality would be go find the best product that you could open to get that opportunity to flip it into some graded cards, knowing that the QC is better in some of those Logo Fractor shorted print cards. The same thing can be said for the conglomerate of like, I know that there are groups out there that probably do this. I would say, you mentioned the guys that chase the logo man. But yeah, if you have a way to pool your resources and have a good bankroll, again, whether you're buying into breaks, whether you're buying raw, you've got little minions everywhere trying to chase enough of a collection of a sample to hopefully have some really good opportunities in that sample, whether it be things you pick up at shows all around the country or things that you get out of boxes from the variety breaks or box rips that you chase. But we all know that's gambling, but again, it all comes down to bankroll management.
What's funny, you mentioned the guy was making bad choices. This is something I'll transition to. I think, again, the dumber you are in the hobby, the more people like to watch what you're doing. If you're smart, they don't pay attention. And some of the people have a lot of views. I'm like, well, why are you doing this? They're the guy who guys buys in one break and complains, or the guy opens one box and says, oh, I hit nothing, buying ripped and wax is terrible. Well, dude, the way you're approaching it is stupid. It's like if you go in a casino, like, 21's a rigged game, the dealer always wins. Well, dude, you're not supposed to hit on a freaking 15 when the dealer's showing a 22. It's those things. I'll tell you, that to me, I think what drives me crazy about content creating, and that is why I think I'm not well liked by certain content creators, because I call them out on their bullshit. I'm like, dude, you're sitting there opening one box and you're sitting here whining to me like Eeyore about how terrible it is. At the same time, we know I don't want to say too much, but before I get to that transition, let me ask my serious question. As a football, basketball guy, when I chase product, I know that the rookie class is the rookie class. Most of the time, those rookies follow all the products. Sometimes some rookies will sprinkle in and out. Yeah. With baseball, there's certain rookies that are in Series 1, but they're not in Series 2, correct?
Yep.
Like so the Jason Dominguez and Ellie, they'll have cards in Series 1 of the first 350 cards in this series of tops. So will a lot of other all-stars, right? So Ohtani, Mike Trout. How do we, and without looking at the checklist, are Ohtani and Mike Trout only in Series 1, or could they be in Series 1 and Series 2? Like, do vets show up in both and rookies only show up in Series 1 and or Series 2 and or update? Like, does that make sense? So I need to help me understand. When I look at Acuna, didn't Acuna have a Series 2 card and then an update, or is he only was an update? Help me make sense of that.
Yeah, it depends how fancy Topps gets with it, but my understanding is from the end of the year, from a certain point, they cut off and say no more rookies will go in any product in this calendar year until the following year. And so in Ellie's case, I think he got called up like June 6th or something last year, and then they could have put him in update, which is sort of reserved for the guys that are called up in that, I would say almost from opening day maybe like a week after opening day till like the end of May. And if rookies haven't made it in Series 1, they could be in Series 2 for that little 6-week window of like early in the season. Ellie was like right on the cusp of like after that. Dominguez was definitely after that. Guys like Trout, when he came up, were way after that, and he got in the update that year. But like Wander, they held him out on purpose because they were trying to get him in Series 1 next year because they knew they make the most of that product because they have the most number of months to print that product. But going back to your question about vets and stuff like that, like does Ohtani have a card in Series 1, Series 2, and update? No, but not necessarily impossible. So he has one base card in every flagship set, right? So in Ohtani's case, he's a rare unicorn because he pitches and he hits. They've done it before where they've put the hitting card in Series 1 and the pitching card in Series 2, or another insert of like him standing next to Trout in update, or him doing some other thing with some other player and they make an insert card with him in it. So they might use Ohtani in a card more than just the one time. But for most players, it's traditionally one card per year in any of those 3 sets that will say their name on it. So in case of like Mike Trout, if he's in Series 1, Mike Trout, that's his card. He will not be in update or in Series 2. If a rookie is in Series 1 and they haven't had a debut card, their debut card will automatically be an update. And if a rookie comes, like I said, up during the spring training time, like right now you're seeing like Jackson Chorio or who's the guy, Spencer Jones, or one of those guys is probably going to make a big league roster. They're either going to be in Series 2 or update this year. Most likely. Jackson Holiday is another one. Forgot about him. But a lot of guys like that, like they're not in Series 1, but if they're called up early, Topps can always make the discretion of like holding them out like they did with Wander. But traditionally, guys that are spring training to early season, like through a cutoff, they'll either be in Series 2 or in update. But they try to hold enough rookies over from year over year. Like I forget who do we not have this year that should have been in Series 1, but they're actually going to be probably in Series 2. I think it's Junior Caminero and Colton Cowser. No, Colton Cowser is in Series 1. But there's a couple guys that are not in Series 1 that you're seeing like inserts of in the 89 throwback variation. They're going to be in Series 2. But what we don't know yet is who any of the update players are because we have to see who makes Major League rosters first.
So this, I'll just say real quickly, is confusing. Okay, to me, as a hobbyist, it's confusing. It's also why I like Chrome, right? Am I wrong in that Chrome is just the entire set in one product? Like, why do I waste any time at all with Series 1, Series 2, or update paper? I should not spend time on it. I just don't. I mean, again, I'm just saying this as a statistical investor trying to have fun, make money, surf the wave. I'm not talking collecting. All the people love the set and love the paper and the smell, all that stuff. I'm not touching that. But I'm just saying what you're teaching me is that I'm just going to chill. And I'm curious that, I don't know if you know this, is it the same way in hockey? Does hockey do that? Because I want to chase Bedard.
Yeah, I think there was a question of whether he'd be in Series 1 or not. Series
2. He's in Series 2.
He's in Series 2, so he wasn't in Series 1. No. But yeah, that's the same thing. Like you have to decide, like, and they do the same. That's a great. But
they don't have a Chrome though, right? There's no Chrome equivalent.
I don't think they do.
They just do Series 1, Series 2. They have an update, but they don't have a Chrome. So you chase Series 2 if you want Bedard. And that's what I like about hockey, by the way, is that you chase that series and you can also get those damn tins and the retail. Like here in the United States, normally that stuff's around. I'm curious to see if Series 2 will be available in retail because that I will chase, and I'll chase, again, Bedard in breaks. I'm super excited about that. And again, I'm only looking to chase those damn, what is Future Stars? Ice Guys. I forget what they're called. Young Guns.
Young Guns. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Well, I forgot
that's
one
awesome.
thing.
Awesome insight.
One thing about update, I forgot. So if a player, this is another caveat, if a player from Series 1 or Series 2 changes teams from the card that was their first rookie card, they will also have a rookie card in update, and it will be a new rookie card. So in the case of last year, it was like Gabriel Moreno. He was in Series 1, He was a catcher for the Blue Jays at the time. He was traded to the Diamondbacks. He had another update rookie card in a Diamondbacks jersey, but he also had a rookie in Series 1 that was in a Blue Jays jersey. So he had 2 rookie cards
Interesting.
in flagship because he switched teams. And then he had 1 update rookie card, and it was not an update rookie card of his rookie debut with the Diamondbacks. It was only with the Blue Jays. So there's weird quirks like that when it comes to flagship baseball, where guys will show up in update for a second time, but it's only if they switch teams or if the update, debut card is like from their first team. And there's all sorts of quirks to that. And then one thing I didn't mention, Topps really screwed this up. You mentioned Chrome and the checklist in Chrome and sort of like how it's like a one-shot deal. In the case of the Series 2 1 year, they tried to put in like the extended short prints of Julio, J-Rod, and Torque, and they totally mucked it up because they didn't really put them in the product. I think that was in the Chrome product, but they put them in the product, but then they were going to put them in update anyway, and it just became very confusing whether they were, really the true rookie card was in the Series 2 product of the short prints or not. But the great thing about Chrome, and you'll see this when you look at some of the imagery, like in the case of like Gabriel Moreno, another great example. Gabriel Moreno had a Series 1 rookie card in the Blue Jays uniform, but if you go to the Chrome set from last year, he was in a Diamondbacks jersey in the same image that he ended up being an update in. So sometimes you get a nice overlap between what was Series 1 and what is update, and you get 220 cards of sort of the best, all the rookies that are going to be in any set for that year, hopefully, fingers crossed, unless they show up in update Chrome. But for Series 1 and Series 2, you're definitely getting everybody. And then sometimes you even get a few that should be an update in a New Jersey or something like that. So chasing Chrome, like you said, those are always the sought after cards anyway, because people like shiny, people like numbered cards, and it's easier to pull those a little bit in Chrome than it is in flagship, sometimes in Series 1. And then I don't know if you, we didn't cover this angle, but print runs. So Topps prints traditionally the most Series 1. Then they print less Series 2 and even less update. If they get the right rookies in update with less print run, that can be a very sought after paper product. But it has to be loaded with great players. So like 2022 and 2018 are great examples where you had in 2018, Ohtani, Soto, and Acuna were all in update paper in their rookie cards. And it was a much shorter printed product than the Series 1 of that year. Same thing goes for 2022 when you had J-Rod, Torque, Witt, Suzuki, Kwan, other guys that ended up in that product. Bryson Stott was in that product. He's been pretty good for the Phillies. You have a much lighter print run in that product than you did in Series 1 of 2022 when it was Wander. So that's where you see sought after paper, is when it's a chock full of rookie class and a short print run.
Now, did the Chrome not do as well? The update Chrome not as sought after as a paper?
In the 2022 version, I think it would have, but quality control on that was so bad that the centering on cards were just awful. And I would say your gem rate on any Chrome card was going to be like 1 out of 5. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's if you're filtering. Like it was going to be bad.
It's funny you mentioned that. I think that's another area where, again, having that patience and knowing those things, you know where to invest money, right? So it's not always being the first one to go chase it, but with great products like Chrome will be around for months. So you don't be the first one to get in Chrome. You might wait and be like getting the Chrome later in the run. Like for Prism right now, I haven't gotten into Prism basketball yet, where I got an NFL right at the beginning. And what I mean by that is I have a budget I put aside for what I'm going to spend on breaks in a product. And normally it's I'm going to buy the best team or teams in several cases. So I'm looking at a pretty good budget. And then I'm saving that allotment for only certain products, right? Like, so NFL Prism, NBA Prism, Chrome Baseball, Series 2 Hockey, but I'm not chasing everything else in between there. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, there's so many. There's also a lot of cool stuff that I will chase individually. Montgomery Club, maybe buy a box here. You sell a good card, but I'm trying to, focus that approach to be a little bit more bang on my buck.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that one. we've said that a bunch of times. You got to stay within your budget and your bankroll. Only lose what you can afford to lose, and then once you've lost it, you got to wait till the next month, or you got to wait till you sell a bunch of cards. If I open a bunch of product and I didn't do that well, I either got to be very selective to what I'm going to grade, or I got to sell through, right? So then the next thing I know is I'm like, all right, I'm not doing anything until I sell through a bunch of product, because I'm not putting any more new money in here. To me, that was important. You mentioned you have 6 kids. I didn't know you had 6 kids. I only got one, and he's going into college next year. But he picks the most expensive college in the state of Indiana. And mom and dad will help him out. But man, I tell you what, that was not something I expected him to do. But I congratulate him. It was a hard school to get into, and I know he'll do really well.
That's awesome, though. That's awesome, man. Let's go ahead and transition. I want to talk a little about content creators and kind of and the subs. To bring the topic up, I'll say I'm a big fan of your channel. I've been following you for a long time. I'll even say this. I almost feel like me liking you is a bad omen because I think channels that I like don't perform as well as they should. And channels that I don't say I don't, it's not that I don't like them, but I find annoying sometimes, are just blowing up, have thousands of subscribers, and they have them overnight. It just kind of blows my mind. I know you were doing a video talking about it, about being persistent. I don't even know what to say. Like my own status, I think I've been at 2,000 subscribers for 3 years. Yeah. But I realize when I look at my statistics, I piss off just as many people as I attract.
Yeah.
I mean that. I'll see 15 people join and I'll see 15 people leave. I don't know if it's the same 15 people, but I'm not going anywhere. At the same time, I like what I'm doing. I love watching other content creators. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what you've been doing. How close are you 1,000 subscribers? And if anybody's watching this far in the video, please go out and subscribe to ERB Sports. I mean, he needs it. He deserves it. It's great content. I mean, I mean that. You do great content. I love what you're doing. Baseball, basketball, betting. I would love to see more eating. I'm looking forward to your eating contest, which I think is amazing because I'd never pick you out as a professional eater. I always think the professional eater is like the big dude. You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Yeah. I tell you what, there's days where I feel like crap, and you're like, oh man, I got to work out like extra hard this week. For me, when it comes to subscribers and stuff like that, like sometimes I get frustrated by it just because it's like, I've got friends in the hobby that I, we've done a lot for each other. And I made friends from complete strangers, and I can appreciate that. And it is a little bit disheartening sometimes when you feel like they're on the stratosphere, like growing like gangbusters, and I'm sitting there like, I could literally make a video every day, but I don't know if anybody will actually watch. And it's sometimes you just gotta say that's part of the deal, right? I signed up for this. I sometimes you're gonna like box openings. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. You're gonna make a video you thought was great, and 35 people are gonna watch. You're gonna be like, I don't understand like why that didn't have more broad appeal, but then you're sort of like, I got a couple ideas like cooking in my head right now that I'm going to do over the weekend, and they're going to not be box opening related, but hopefully they'll be insightful. And the one thing I've tried to do a little bit more in my videos is have a really good intro, nice thumbnails, and try to be very succinct. And I've tried to also do the picture-in-picture. I don't do the screen sharing, but I've tried to like record a video here at the table, and then I'll go do the video on the laptop and actually like splice the two together. And that seems to work out okay in terms of format. And so, I mean, I'm still 150 shy of 1,000, but we're approaching 2 years on the channel. We're a month away from 2 years. My first video was April 16th of 2022. I think part of it is just, I wasn't around during the pandemic. I came in a little too late. I should have started it earlier, but that's on me. And but I've seen some that start much later and they take off like gangbusters. And part of that's just, some of it's luck, some of it is content, some of it is attitude. So yeah, I don't know.
Some of my thoughts, first of all, some of it I realize that when you get to a certain size, you just accumulate regardless. You could put up nothing and gain people. I'll give you an example. Comeback card investor Brad, who I'm actually a good friend of. When he stopped his channel still can get subscribers. Still went from like I think 18,000 to over 20,000. Him being dormant, the account just acquired people, right? Another thing I've noticed is that you do not see. You'll see a lot like Brad has a great channel. I think what's 6,000 subscribers. You're on with him a lot. You collab. He tells people go subscribe to ERB, but you don't see that tag
They
along.
don't listen.
And I see that with others though too. But that's not just you. You know what I'm saying? I want you to understand that. Like, I'll give you another example. Great Curator has tons of subscribers. That little Merlin guy can't break 1,000 subscribers either. And there's a lot of channels like that. Dustin, right? Sports Card Dad, 20,000 subscribers. He shouted out Mike's Retro group a lot. And I love those guys. I mean, you follow Mike's Retro Cards, 3 guys. I think they're the best 3-guy show on the internet.
Yeah.
They just broke 1,000. It's those weird things to me that I don't know why. And I'll even say this too. I don't spend a lot of time at all in my editing of my videos. And I freaking hate making thumbnails. I'm lazy at making thumbnails. Who's the gentleman, right? Where's Brandon? This guy right here. This guy is my thumbnail ninja. He sends me beautiful pictures, these wild stuff, and I cut them up and I make thumbnails. And I thank you so much. And the reason I say this is that maybe every now and then I say, oh, maybe I should really make an effort. Maybe I should edit a video. Maybe I should, I don't know, put better keywords in, get some SEO information. But then I also think to myself, as soon as I do that, I might not like it as much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like, and it's not that. Like, I like what you're doing, and you care enough, and I'm not knocking people to do it. My point to this is that I applaud anybody who does it. And if you're listening to me, and I know that I comment on a lot of people, and sometimes I'm critical. I want you to first of all understand when I comment, take it as an appreciation. I'm trying to engage with you. I listened to your damn shit, and I made a comment back. Well, I think a lot of people don't do that, right? And then I encourage it on my channel. Come to my channel, engage with me, ask a question, let's debate. But going back to this, I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't know what the secret is. Like, I've almost thought about trying to buy subscribers. Right. I've almost thought of it. Is that work? And then I think to myself, well, I don't really want to buy them. Right. I don't think that's the answer to this, but is it even possible? Are people really buying them? Or do you think like SCV Sports Cards is blowing up right now? He's had a lot of great growth. I think he's well deserving of it. And it makes me think to myself, where are those people coming from? Right. Like if you look at his numbers compared to Dustin's views, Dustin's average views are maybe a couple thousand a day. So how does, what I'm saying? Like, it's weird, the subscriber community. I'll let you comment there. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I know. When it comes to, understanding like the metrics of how people get funneled to your channel, whether it's through suggested videos, whether it's through searches, whether it's through word of mouth, I know that some of what people's channels have blown up for in the past has been sort of the big shout out, more or less, right? You get like Jeff or SCR or Neo Cards and Comics, or somebody shouts out that has tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. It can bring in 200, right? That might give you the jolt that you need to get to that next level. That does happen. SCV had that with SCR. I know they were featured on the live stream for SCV early on. He was featured on a couple videos way early on when he was well behind me. And now he's taken off, and he's 5 times what I am. And his channel's been around for a fraction of what mine has. I appreciate I applaud his tenacity of doing videos every day and having a different topic every day, and the unique format and the intro and the outro and that sort of thing. I sort of jump around a lot. I think part of what hurt my channel, and I don't know if it hurts my channel or helps it, right? You mentioned what my channel is, right? So for those who are watching this live stream, ERB is an acronym. It's eating, professional eating. I haven't done a contest in a long, long time, but I do have a contest coming up in a month. It's going to be a month from tomorrow. It is a fudge eating contest in Missouri. I'm trying to train and practice for that. Now, you might ask, how do I train and practice for fudge eating? Well, I sure as hell ain't going to eat a lot of fudge before that contest because it's terrible for you. But you got to train capacity. So that's what I'm growing capacity back to where it was. So eating is one thing. Ripping was the R, the sports card related angle. And then betting was betting on sports, but primarily I bet on racing. IndyCar racing's coming up. If you guys watch Indy 500 and IndyCar season, and there's a lot of F1 fans out there and NASCAR fans. IndyCar season, I will literally make a video talking about my picks for every single IndyCar race. So betting will happen then. Betting would happen whenever I do more of it. I just don't, I think I'm so amateurish at betting. And maybe that's the thing. Like you said, people screwing up and then they'll like love you more for it. I will just like show you how bad I am sometimes at picking.
Well,
And I mean, I'll hit some really, really big, good picks, but then sometimes I can pick some duds too.
I would say, I think I mentioned to you, one of the guys that I was friends with, back during COVID, I think his name is Jordan. He ran sports card analytics at one point. He switched it over to, I think it's the first round or final round. And he does picks for, I think it's pro picks, some of those performance sports, using analytics to tell you which players are going to have the most rebounds or whatever per game, matchups. His channel's blown up. I think it's like 25,000 subscribers. I will tell you, I think if you play the betting more, and I don't know what, I don't know if you have to keyword it or SEO or whatever the hell, I think you'll do well with that. I really do. And when it comes back to the eating, I'd love for you to do some videos of that. If you could have somebody take some footage of you, I'm curious. I mean, I got a ton of questions. It's like, I'm assuming you vomit that stuff up afterwards. Am I right or wrong? Most people digest that stuff. Does everybody digest it? Or do you see other people vomiting?
I've never seen anybody, but I can't speak for everybody.
Really? Because I would think like right afterwards, like everybody just goes in the back and just is upchucking. I just have that vision in my mind.
I can only speak for myself that I don't, but that's where I say I consider myself a part-time competitive eater. I don't eat a full schedule, so I don't eat like challenges every day. So if I look at it that as sort of like if I ate at a buffet, right, and I ate everything I could until I was totally stuffed, I wouldn't eat like that every day. But like the anaconda type analogy, I will not eat for a day, and I'll just drink water and let it go through. And 2 weeks later, I feel fine. And I always go to the doctor and check up like the metrics of like, your blood work or whatever, make sure your like cholesterol and everything is fine. And, there have been a few scares here or there, like where it was like, I need to make an adjustment, but most of it would just be stay active. I do a lot of fitness stuff with work. We have a wellness challenge that we do every quarter. So, we've got something we just wrapped up for the last 8 weeks. If I'm not doing that, I don't think I would be able to do as many eating contests and challenges as I do. And most of it's just, again, it's sort of like the analogy to bankroll management. It's a zero-sum game. What comes in, I got to burn off, and I try to meter it so that I don't, at the end, I'm okay doing it and not, doing any kind of other, antics, because I know I'm not going to do that often. And I'm okay with that.
Why do you do it? And I mean that in the sense of like, is it for the fun? Are you competitive? Are you chasing the money? Do you like the food? What motivates you to do this? I think it's cool. I really think it's amazing that you do it. I love the fact that you do this. I'm just curious what motivates you.
I do it just because it's fun. I enjoy it. I've always liked to eat fast. When I was in high school, I did swimming and cross country, and I did a lot of active sports. And so I had a high metabolism then, and I could eat like crazy amounts and never gain a pound. And I did a lot of triathlons when I was like early in my career, and I did a lot of half marathons. I still do a lot of active stuff. I don't do as many half marathons as I used to, but I consider that sort of a good base to build from. And I just, it's a funny story. I don't know if I've ever told the story to anybody on YouTube. My manager at work at the time, and we set yearly goals and objectives, and she and her husband were climbing Mount Everest to base camp. And we were talking about personal objectives, personal goals, things that we want to do for us. Right. And she's like, well, you can put anything you want in your personal objective. That is yours. And I said, you mean like anything? And she says, yes, absolutely. And I said, like trying out for Nathan's? And she's like, what's Nathan's? And I said, the hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July. I said, I've always wanted to try that. It just looks like so much fun. And she's like, well, you should definitely put that down, and you could definitely do that as a personal objective. So I tried out for Nathan's that year, and I was good enough to break the ice with the league, and I've been there ever since. So that's how I got into it, was a manager at the time personally challenging me to try something different and go for it. And I did. And I'm not the greatest, but I'm better than average. And I've won head-to-head contests against the top 50 before, and I've finished in the top 4 in a contest before. So I consider that a victory. And
That's awesome.
The food, if the food is right, some of the food is delicious. Tamales, tacos, those are great contest foods. I never get sick of those. Pumpkin pie is awesome. Tastes so good. I never get sick of it. I would eat 6 pounds of it in a contest, and I'd still eat it on Thanksgiving because it's just good.
So let me ask you, have you ever done any of the restaurant challenges? Like go to the restaurants that have like, who can eat the most wings, at your name on the board, pictures. And I asked that when I was in college. I remember I loved hot wings. There were several hot wings places that I'd go do the challenge. There was one that I failed twice at. They have this thing called the Flatliner. It's the worst wing I've ever had in my life. And another one I won was a jalapeno eating contest. But have you ever looked at that? Do you do that stuff as well? And that's another thing I'd recommend too, to video and put that on there. Like if there's a local diner that has some challenge, 20-pound steak.
Yeah.
Can you chat about that?
Well, I have done some restaurant challenges here in the local area and in Milwaukee. There's other guys on YouTube and other gals on YouTube. Randy Santel and Katina Eats Kilos and Beard Meats Food. And I'm just going to go rattle off names. Yep. Jay Webby Can Eat. Those guys are really, really good. I'm not necessarily saying I'm like on a worse level, but they're on a different stratosphere because that's their job, right? That is their life. They don't have day jobs. That is their job. And so they've made that their living. But for me locally, like we've got one place near me that is called Bub's Burgers and Ice Cream. And they 22-ounce burger and a half-pound bun. And people say, oh, you eat one, you get your picture on the wall, right? And then it's big, ugly. It's really hard. Man versus Food have been there one time. And I'm thinking, like, anybody can do one. Like, that's not even hard. And so one of the days I went to the Zionsville location and I said, well, what's the house record for number of burgers eaten? And they're like, well, nobody's gotten more than 2. And I said, well, I'm going to try and go for 4. And I got 3 down and I was about to start the 4th. And I was like, and I had a little moment where I was like, I don't think I should do that. I think I should be set with walking away with 3 of these 22-ounce, basically 2-pound burgers. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good at 3.
So what you got on the border? Anything else from that? Did they give you any prizes? And
they put a poster up in the restaurant. So I put the poster up holding the 3 plates, and it'll be there forever.
That's awesome. See, I love stuff like that.
On 3 at that location.
That's crazy. And like I said, I think it's an amazing thing because I don't know how you do it. And like you said, you're an active person, so you're not like gaining the weight. You're staying healthy. I think it's cool. I'd love to see more of that content because it's a world that I wonder about. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't know. I have this perception of what's going on. So would love to hear more about that.
Well, we're a month
on the channel.
We're a month out from the contest. The contest prep is going to kick in a little bit. So like I said, I'm building my capacity back up to where it was and try to go beyond where it was. But I had sort of let it slide a bit because I hadn't done any contests. So once I'm happy with that and I do a couple training runs with some other foods for volume, I'll probably post a video or 2 just talking about like how do I prep for a contest. But yeah, it won't be like a speed eating contest or anything like that. Maybe I'll do a sprint of like a small amount just so you can see technique and stuff like that. Because that's the other part about any contest. You've got to know how to eat the food fast. So for me, I've figured out how to eat a lot of those foods fast, but it's the longevity of 10 minutes that sometimes separates the upper echelon from like me as like a decent ranked eater from them is like them. They can hit that other level for the last 3 minutes. And I haven't mastered that yet, but in the first couple of minutes, I can hold with a fair number of them in certain contest foods.
Can you tell us, so you have a contest coming up, that's the fudge eating one. When is it and where is it again? And will we be able to watch it? Like, will you have a replay
I will.
of
I
it? Would
will
there be
do
a
a live
live?
stream. I will live
Okay.
stream that one because my wife is going to go with me. We're actually going to be on vacation. It's in St. Robert, Missouri. It's at the off Route 66 at the Uranus Fudge Factory. I know that's that. Let the funny memes begin. Trust me on that. I've already had coworkers send me a bunch of funny memes. I'm like, hey, that's just what the place is called. I hate to say it, but that's what it's called.
Love it.
So yeah, it'll be March 30th, right before the day of the eclipse, about a week before that, and it'll be a Saturday. I'll be there, and then we're gonna be there for vacation anyway. We're going to the Ozarks, so we were gonna spend that week of I think it's Easter week in the Ozarks. My parents were renting a house for my sister and myself, and so getting some family together
It's awesome.
for that holiday. But yeah, I saw the date aligned, and I was like, I got to try and get in that one. So I contacted Mike at MLE, and I said, hey, I haven't done a contest in a long time. Can you try to make sure I'm in this one? And he's like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. So
that's awesome. I know we've been talking almost an hour and 40 minutes. I want to see if you have any other quick questions. I also want to mention I'm going to be doing a break tonight. If you want to watch along, it's going to start in about 20 minutes. I have the Spurs and the 20 boxes of Monopoly on pastime breaks. You can all laugh or cheer. Spent $345 in this break. Okay, 20 boxes. We think about this. It's almost 50% of the cost, right? 10 boxes is roughly $300. 20 boxes, $600, and I spent $345. I'm telling you this because I break down in my mind the ratio. What's the risk I'm spending? That's a high ratio in my mind. I'd rather be lower, like under 30% of the total cost when I buy into breaks. But I am chasing Wemby. I also think it's a rich product with Monopoly. I encourage you to check out the checklist. Look at last year's checklist and look at the richness of the product. It's very similar to Logo Fractors. Like, and you and Brett even talked about this year's. It's a 90. There's 90 players in the checklist. Each team has 3 players, right? And then there's 10 all-stars. So some players have 2 cards. LeBron will have 2. Luka has 2. Right, so 100 players total, and then each one has. I think last year they had 2 1-on-1s. They had number to 5, number to 10, number 25. They have beautiful shimmers on them. Then they have the short prints. They have the money blasts, the color blasts. They have the Monopoly cards. I mean, there's so much in this product that I'm super excited about. So I'll be doing that in a little bit. There's another quick question I had for you. First of all, I really enjoyed this, man. I hope we do this again because I would love to talk more about basketball. One thing that was talked about is I believe you have a 3-year window on players. I'd love for us to kind of spend some time and analyze that. I think football, you've got a 2-year window in football with some exception of players. And we could talk about baseball and stuff like that too, but this has just been great. Anything you want to add before we kind of bring this to an end or topics we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I mean, one thing you mentioned about 3-year window on NBA players. So I think sometimes forgotten players can emerge back after their 3rd year. Like, I'm a big De'Aaron Fox guy. They sucked for the first 5 years of his career, but now they're good again. They're going to probably make the playoffs for the 2nd time in a row. I think guys like that were never really hyped to begin with, that were forgotten, can emerge back as relevant, and you can do okay on that. But by and large, you know, your window is so small on those guys, like, it doesn't always pay off. I like him as a player. Even if I never sell any of his cards and they all go to 0, I'll be sad, but I've got some really cool pieces that I just hope he plays for the Kings for his whole career because I've liked him ever since he was in college. And yeah, I mean, I just
it's funny you mention him. I'm a big fan of him as well. I had a lot of his cards. I had a lot of his autographs. Chased him a lot. Sold him. Let me ask you this: is there a certain activity, like if he won a championship, if he got traded to the Lakers, is there something that would make you say, hey, that's it, I'm cashing out and gonna sell him? Or are you in him because he's your PC? It doesn't make a difference what he does.
I've got a lot of multiples of him, so what I'll probably do is sell the doubles. Like, I've got 3 of the purple optics. That's not it's not a numbered card, but there's not many in a 10, and I've got 3 of them. So if he ever hits the finals or something, I'll probably just keep 1 and sell the rest. And I would do that with everything. So I wouldn't say I have the whole color array of optic, but I like the optic that year better than the Prism. The Prism was such a small
Yep.
image of the player.
And the two black
optic,
bars.
Yeah, exactly. I like the
Yep.
optic in that year of the Tatum, Mitchell, Fox rookie class. I like the optic cards better, and I've got all the non-numbered version of Fox in the optic. So the hollow, the disco, the purple, the base. There's a couple other ones there I'm forgetting, but they're all the non-numbered versions. I've got all of those in a 10, and some of them I have multiple or 3 copies of. But keep in mind, I was picking these up for so cheap. Like I bought them before the playoffs, like before they made the playoffs last year. I bought them during the end of the 2022 season when they were completely irrelevant, and some people were just giving these cards away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this guy's not going to be out of the league. Like he's not Sam Darnold. Like he's going to be like, all you need is one change to a coach and a little bit of discipline and defense. And this guy's going to be really good. And now he's under the Curry brand. So I'm surprised he doesn't get more hype. I mean, he's basically repped by Curry.
He's hurt because of the time zone. He doesn't get the play time, the TV time.
Yeah,
and he's a small market. I mean, to me, I think he's a phenomenal player. And what I love about him, like you said, there's so many people in the NBA. It's the most elite sport in professional sports, because you think about how many players are on the court, how many get drafted. It is the most elite. If any player is in the NBA, you're damn good. So to me, it's all about the time, the location, the talent. Like I'll tell you, I have a friend of mine who played at Auburn, played football, and a lot of his friends are professional athletes in the NFL. And one of the comments he made, he goes, at that level, when you're at an elite college or you make it to the pros, everyone's freaking good. It's about opportunity. It's about location. That is what makes a career. For example, he was fullback at Auburn with Heath Evans. Is it Heath Evans, I think it was, who ended up going to the Patriots and has several Super Bowls. He also played with Tikio Spikes, who was a great linebacker who played for the Bengals, who never saw any championships. And his comment was, every one of us was a freaking great athlete. But it just is about time. And that's the thing people need to realize. What we're playing here, again, it's a gamble. It's a casino.
Yeah.
One guy might be great. He might be deserving of 10 championships and never get them. And his card might never get the love. And you just kind of have to accept that. And that's what makes this hobby, like I said, it's waves. Enjoy the waves. And I agree with you. That's what I love about this thing is there's so many players that can have value again, right? So they might, like, I remember Fox. I remember having a lot of his college autograph cards, his contenders ticket cards, and I sold those graded. I did very well off those, and I did really well off his Prism cards. And then I got out of it, and I watched them dip, and then I saw opportunities where you could buy them back. I'll be honest, I've never been a guy to go buy them back. I watched the dips happen. I am so focused right now on just the new. You know, like I'll go with the new, and I don't sweat the fact that, oh, well, I had him. I should have had him again. I just enjoy the fact I had him, and I take that experience and move on next. And I think that's what I love about the hobby. Like I said, the experience. And I love, like you said, I love your stories about watching Fox. I'm watching for him to move somewhere else. Sadly, I think that's what's going to be his value, is that he's going to either have to go to the championship, which is very hard, or he needs to be traded. And he's a guy who's got plenty of time. You know, he's still young. I mean, and he's like you pointed out. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the better players of that class. And that's why, you know, like I said, I love the hobby. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, wrap it up. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to jump over at the Pastime Sports. I think it's Pastime Breaks, and root for the Spurs, man. But like I said, this has been great, John. I really enjoyed this. For those few people who showed up, I really appreciate every one of you guys. I know I didn't get to any comments at all. I suck at comments, but I want to say I saw 2 people subscribe to your channel, John, out of the few people who stopped by tonight. And I will say this, man, I love what you're doing. Don't stop doing what you're doing. If I can help in any way, let me know. I really appreciate, again, you being on the show, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a blast. I'd love to do this more. Let's do it again. You know, we could do this anytime you want. It's been a lot of fun. As long as my cat does not tip over the light in front of me right now. If I'm pointing at something, it's the cat that's literally nudging the light. That I have these 2 light banks, and she's like threatening to push one of them over. I'm like, don't do that, Wyatt.
No problem, man. I got to run. Like I said, I got to get downstairs, check in with the family. Most of the kids should be asleep by now, but and then get on my break. But thanks again, man. Really appreciate it. I'm going to end the stream. For everybody who's watching, again, everybody, thank you very much for stopping by. I really appreciate it tonight, guys. I think I'm ending the stream, John, and